I never imagined my first high-profile case as a licensed attorney would involve my own husband. But then again, I also never imagined I would marry a billionaire. My name is Kamsi Ease, 30 years old, recently sworn in as a family and corporate lawyer, and wife to Adrik Volkov, the enigmatic Nigerian-Russian billionaire who controlled half the real estate market from Lagos to Dubai. Our marriage had been the headline of the year. Tech billionaire marries law intern. People said I married him for the money. Others whispered he married me to polish his public image. But nobody knew the truth, not even me. Our marriage was a maze of luxury, silence, and unspoken rules. The mansion he placed me in glittered like a palace, but inside it were corridors colder than courtrooms. Adrik was brilliant, calculating, unreadable, never cruel, never kind, simply present when he needed to be, and absent the rest of the time. Still, I believed we had an understanding, until the morning I was handed the contract. I was in my office at Ease & Partners, a small law firm my brothers and I built from scratch. My coffee was still steaming when my secretary rushed in. "Madam, a courier from Volkov Holdings wants to see you. Says it is extremely urgent." That was unusual. Adrik had never mixed business with my work. He kept his empire sealed behind layers of privacy and control. The courier entered, tall, stiff, and wearing the Volkov midnight blue suit. He dropped a thick envelope on my table. "Mr. Volkov instructed that you receive this personally. He said you would know what to do." What to do? I frowned. The courier left without offering further explanation. I opened the envelope, and my world tilted. Inside was a divorce petition, filed by my husband, and in the section labeled Respondents' Counsel was my name. Attorney, Mrs. Kamsi Ease, Respondent's legal representative. For a long moment I could not breathe. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. The petition was excessively formal, clinical, emotionless. Typical Adrik. But what startled me most was the signature at the bottom. He had already signed it. He wanted me to represent him against myself. It felt like a game, a test, or worse, a trap. My phone buzzed. Adrik. I stared at the screen before picking up. "You received the documents," he said in his smooth, low voice. "Adrik, what is this? A joke?" "I don't make jokes." The coldness in his tone made my stomach tighten. "You filed for a divorce." "Yes." "And you want me to be your lawyer?" "Yes. You are the only lawyer I trust not to leak my personal information." I laughed bitterly. "So I am good enough to protect your secrets, but not good enough to stay married to you?" Silence. Heavy, calculated. "Come to my office at 9, he finally said. "We will discuss the terms." "Terms?" I echoed painfully. "Kamsi, this is business. Do not take it personally." "But it is personal. We are married." "Were," he corrected. Then the line went dead. I sank into my chair, overwhelmed by a mix of anger, confusion, and a strange professional instinct telling me something wasn't right. This divorce was too sudden, too neat, too strategic. Adrik planned everything. Nothing in his life happened randomly. So why now? Why like this? I knew one thing. Behind this petition lay a story more dangerous than heartbreak. At exactly 9, I arrived at Volkov Towers, the tallest building on Victoria Island. His office was on the 48th floor, glass walls, chrome edges, and a panoramic view of the Atlantic. Adrik stood by the window, hands behind his back, dressed in a charcoal suit that looked like it had been stitched with power itself. He turned when he heard me. "Kamsi." I kept my voice perfectly steady. "Adrik, explain." He gestured toward a folder on his desk. "I need a divorce before the board meeting next quarter. Certain shareholders are pressing issues." "What kind of issues?" "The kind you don't need to worry about." But I did worry, because he was lying. "You want me to represent you so I stay quiet," I said slowly. "You want to control the narrative." His eyes met mine, dark, unreadable. "I want someone competent, and you are the only person I trust." His compliment felt like a blade wrapped in velvet. "Will you take the case?" he asked. I swallowed, gathering every ounce of strength. I'll take it, I said. But understand something, Adric. If I'm your lawyer, I will uncover everything you're hiding. His lips curved, not in a smile, but in something sharper. I'm counting on it. And just like that, I became the divorce lawyer of my billionaire husband. The first rule of representing a client in a divorce, especially a billionaire, is simple. Know everything. The second rule, know more than they want you to. By the time I left Volkov Towers, I already suspected Adric wasn't telling me even half of what was going on. Billionaires didn't file for divorce quietly. They used PR teams, lawyers, and strategists. Yet he wanted it silent, controlled, contained. Why? I drove to the mansion, our mansion, to gather documents I would need. The media didn't know about the divorce yet, but I could already feel storm clouds forming around us. If this blew up, it would be global news. Inside the house, everything looked the same, immaculate, arranged, untouched. But something felt different, empty, as if the marriage had evaporated overnight, leaving only the echo of a promise we never fully understood. I headed to his private study. He rarely let me inside, but as his legal counsel, I technically had permission now. My keycard beeped and the door slid open. The room smelled of cedar wood and secrets. His desk was flawless, every document aligned. I began opening drawers, scanning files, shareholder reports, property lists, business mergers. Nothing unusual. Until I found a folder labeled Black Fire Axe Private. I frowned. I'd never heard of it. Inside were transaction logs, encrypted codes, and an unsigned memorandum from an unknown entity. One word repeated across multiple pages. Acquisition threat. My pulse quickened. Someone was trying to take over Volkov Holdings, and Adric was preparing for war. But what did that have to do with divorcing me? I snapped pictures of everything and returned the files exactly as I found them. As I stepped out of the study, my phone rang. My best friend and firm partner, Nkechi. Kamsi, I just saw something strange, she said, her voice sharp. A private investigator called our office asking about you. My heart skipped. What did he want? He said his client is preparing for litigation and wants your background. Kamsi, is someone suing you? No, not me. Someone was vetting me. I'm fine, I whispered, though my insides twisted. If he calls again, don't say anything. You're scaring me. Is this because of Adric? I hesitated. I can't talk yet, but be careful. After ending the call, I sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, and forced myself to breathe. Everything was unraveling too fast. A secret takeover. Private investigators watching me. A divorce filed with surgical precision. I reached for my phone and drafted a message. Kamsi, we need to talk. Who is Black Fire Axe? I didn't expect a reply immediately, but Adric responded within seconds. Adric, do not go near that file again. Adric, we will discuss this tomorrow. Adric, for your safety, stop asking questions tonight. For my safety? My chest tightened. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than a marriage falling apart. The following afternoon, meeting 2. I arrived at Volkov Towers again, this time with a full divorce strategy drafted. When I walked into his office, Adric was not alone. A tall, stern-faced woman stood beside him. This is attorney Farida Musa, Adric said. She will represent you. I almost laughed. You chose my lawyer for me? I chose someone competent, he corrected. Farida offered me a hand. Pleasure. Mr. Volkov speaks highly of your abilities. Did he? The same man who signed divorce papers without warning? We sat down, a triangle of tension. I slid my draft across the table. These are the terms I propose for the settlement. Full transparency from both sides. Adric skimmed it and placed it aside calmly. That won't be possible. Farida raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I leaned forward. You hired me. You don't get to withhold information. He met my gaze steadily. I am withholding it to keep you alive. Farida stiffened. My breath caught. Explain, I demanded. There are investors involved in certain transactions, he said slowly. Dangerous people. People who monitor every shift in my life, including my marriage. And the divorce protects you from them? I asked. It protects you, he corrected, and as in partners. I froze. He wasn't just divorcing me. He was trying to separate me legally from whatever fire he was stepping into. The realization hit me like a punch. You think dissolving our marriage stops them from targeting me? I whispered. It reduces their leverage, he said. So this isn't personal. For the first time since this began, something flickered in his eyes, something human. It was never supposed to be. A knock interrupted us. His assistant entered. Sir, the board is demanding an emergency session. They said it's about Black Fire Acts. Adric's jaw clenched. They're moving faster than expected. Then he looked at me, voice low and sharp. Kamsi, listen to me carefully. If you continue this case, you will uncover things that cannot be unseen. I'm a lawyer, I replied. It's my job. He shook his head slowly. No, Kamsi. This time, it's a war. By the next morning, news of an internal crisis at Volkov Holdings had already begun leaking into the business world. Anonymous blogs whispered about hostile takeovers, boardroom betrayals, and secret foreign investors. None of them mentioned the divorce, thank God, but I knew it was only a matter of time. I headed straight to the firm. Nkechi was waiting for me at the entrance, arms folded. Madam Billionaire's wife, she said, blocking my path. Sit, talk, now. I sighed. I owed her the truth, at least part of it. We settled into my office, blinds shut. The moment I revealed the divorce papers, her mouth dropped. Kamsi, and you kept this to yourself? I didn't want to panic. So you became your own husband's lawyer instead? Are you hearing yourself? I rubbed my forehead. I need to understand why he's doing this. Okay, so tell me, does this divorce make any sense emotionally? No. Does it make sense legally? No. Then it's business, she concluded. Dangerous business. Exactly the conclusion I'd been avoiding. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Adric's assistant. Mrs. Ease, the chairman has requested your presence at the emergency board meeting. Immediately. Requested? No, that was a summons. Kamsi, don't go alone, Nkechi warned. These billionaire boards don't play. I'll be fine, I lied, grabbing my files. But in truth, my heart was pounding. Volkov Holdings. The 48th floor, boardroom. The boardroom was a long, glass-walled battlefield overlooking the Atlantic. 12 board members sat like judges of an empire, their expressions carved with suspicion. Screens displayed financial charts dripping in red. The atmosphere was thick with corporate tension. Adric wasn't seated. He stood at the head of the table, hands clasped behind him, shoulders rigid. The moment I entered, every eye darted toward me. A woman at the far end sneered. So he really brought his wife here? Another whispered, he wants sympathy. No, a third muttered, he wants control. Adric spoke without turning. Mrs. Ease is here as my legal counsel. Show her respect. The room fell silent, but the unease didn't fade. I took my seat beside him, pretending not to feel the intensity clawing at my skin. The oldest board member, Mr. Collins, cleared his throat. Mr. Volkov, we are here for one reason. Your secret dealings with a group known as Black Fire Acts. My stomach tightened. So they knew. Another board member, Mrs. Lady, leaned forward. And now, at the peak of our crisis, you file for a divorce? Convenient timing, isn't it? My eyes snapped to Adric. He remained perfectly calm. Black Fire Acts has made an offer to acquire 40% of Volkov Holdings, he said. An illegal covert acquisition. I refused. And now they're retaliating, Mrs. Lady said. Our shares are dropping. Stockholders are panicking. Then her eyes turned sharply toward me. Is this why you're divorcing your wife, Mr. Volkov? To shield your assets? A few nods, a few smirks, a few whispers. Adric's voice was sharp. My personal life is irrelevant to this meeting. But your wife is sitting beside you, Colin snapped. And for all we know, she may be part of the problem. Every head turned toward me. Heat shot up my neck. Excuse me. Colin slammed a document on the table. A private investigator looked into your firm. Someone from Eze and Partners was contacted by Black Fire Acts last week. Nkechi. My breath froze. I didn't know they were connected to Black Fire Acts, I argued. But Collins continued mercilessly. Perhaps you married Mr. Volkov for access, married him to infiltrate his empire. We have to consider it. The accusation sliced through the air. I saw Adric's jaw tighten. Enough, he growled. The boardroom shook with the force of his voice. You will not insult my counsel again. Counsel, not wife. His words were protection, but cold protection. Collins pushed back. Your judgment is compromised, Volkov. You're hiding something. This divorce isn't clean. Adric's voice dropped to a lethal calm. If I were hiding something, I would not bring my most trusted legal mind into this room. Something shifted in the board's expressions. Not trust, but confusion. A younger board member, AO, slid a file toward me. Mrs. Ease, we found something Black Fire Acts leaked to the media. I think you need to see it. I opened it, and my heart nearly stopped. Inside were surveillance photos of me, entering the mansion, leaving my firm, meeting with clients. Stamped across the folder, asset leverage target. Black Fire Acts wasn't just monitoring Adric, they were targeting me. I looked up at Adric. His eyes were locked on mine. Dark, burning, furious. This is why I filed the divorce, he said quietly, only loud enough for me to hear. To cut the leverage they think they have. My pulse hammered. You think this will keep me safe? I whispered. No, he answered, but it will buy us time. Suddenly, the boardroom doors burst open. A security officer rushed in, breathless. Sir, someone breached the building's network. They're overriding our systems. Black Fire Acts. They're inside. The room erupted in panic. Adric turned to me slowly, voice low and final. Now you understand, Kamsi. This is no longer a divorce case. His eyes hardened. It's a race for survival. Chaos in a boardroom is different from chaos in the streets. On the streets, people scream. In a boardroom, people whisper. Controlled panic, desperate attempts to maintain dignity while the world cracks beneath their feet. As alarms blinked across the digital display and the system lights flickered, the board scrambled to their devices. Adric remained motionless, as if waiting for something he already anticipated. I clutched the surveillance file, the one labeling me as an asset leverage target. My hands felt cold. My lungs felt tight. This was not business anymore. This was warfare. A security officer handed Odric a tablet. Sir, they've breached firewall clusters 1 and 2. They're searching internal archives. For what? I asked. Adric looked at me, his expression impossible to read. For the same thing you found in my study. Black Fire Acts. The room spun slightly. The file marked private? He nodded. They want the truth, and they want it before you uncover it. Board members were shouting now. Shut down the servers. Disconnect from the grid. Call the cybersecurity division. Adric raised one hand, and the entire room fell silent. They already expected you to panic. That's the trap. Arrow scrambled closer. Chairman, what exactly are we dealing with? No more half-truths. Adric exhaled slowly, a sound too calm for the situation. Black Fire Acts began as a shell corporation, harmless, but someone very powerful, took control of it. And that person wants Volkov Holdings, Collins asked. They want more than that, Adric replied. They want everything tied to my name. He turned his eyes toward me for a heartbeat too long. My stomach tightened. Was I one of those things tied to his name? Before I could ask, the door opened again, and Farida Musa, my assigned divorce attorney, rushed inside with a folder hugged to her chest. Adric, Kamsi, we have a problem. Great, another one. Farida slapped the folder on the table. This arrived anonymously at my office. No sender, no return address. Inside were documents marked, the truth file, for attorney Kamsi Easy. Only my heart stuttered. I looked at Adric. Did you send this? No, he answered. But open it. Everyone leaned forward as I flipped the first page. It wasn't divorce documents. It wasn't financial data. It was a marriage background report. On me, every detail of my life, my family, my firm, my finances, my childhood, laid out in clinical precision. But that wasn't the disturbing part. The disturbing part was the handwritten note at the top. She doesn't know what her husband hid from her. She deserves the truth. And my pulse pounded in my ears. The next page contained photographs. Old photographs of Adric, meeting powerful men, shaking hands with shadowy figures, signing secret contracts, and then a picture that nearly made my throat close. Adric, standing with the man my late father once called his worst enemy, the man who controlled illegal investments across West Africa, the man known only as the broker. My father had testified against him years ago. It almost destroyed our family, and now he was in a picture. Standing beside my husband, the room blurred. "Kamsi," Adric said gently. "You need to breathe." "No," I said through clenched teeth. "You need to explain." Board members exchanged shocked glances. Collins whispered, "Is this real?" Adric walked to me slowly and placed his hand on the file. "Those photos are taken out of context." "Context?" I snapped. "You're standing with the broker. My father risked his life exposing him." "I know," Adric said quietly. "That's why I kept it from you." My throat tightened painfully. "You lied." "I protected you." I pulled the file away from him. "From what?" He hesitated. It was the first time I had ever seen uncertainty crack his composure. But before he could answer, alarms blared again. The screen at the center of the room flashed red. "System override complete. Black Fireaxe has accessed internal servers. Target identified. Truth file." I froze. They weren't after Volkov Holdings. They were after this file, the one given to me. "Why would they want information about me and you?" I whispered. Adric's voice dropped, dark and heavy. "Because the broker isn't just an enemy of your family." I stared at him. "He's the man who funded my first company, and the man who now wants everything I own, including you." My breath caught. "Why me?" "Because," he said, "you're the only person who can expose the entire network Black Fireaxe built. And they know it." The boardroom doors slammed open again. This time security was running. "Sir, they're trying to get into your personal vault," one officer reported. "The one that contains the—" Adric cut him off sharply. "Enough!" My eyes narrowed. "Contains what?" Silence. Then, "Kamsi," he said, "there's something you need to see, something only you have the right to open." The windows behind us darkened. Evidence the building was going into lockdown. My heart hammered. Adric stepped toward me, extending his hand. "Come with me. If you want the full truth, it's in the vault." For the first time, fear and determination twisted together inside me. I took his hand. Not as his wife, not as his lawyer, but as the one person he could no longer hide the truth from. The elevator plunged downward, far below the public floors, past security-restricted levels, deeper into the private foundations of Volkov Towers. My pulse thudded in my ears with every floor we passed. Adric stood beside me, silent, his expression a mask carved from stone. He had held the door open for me, held out his hand, guided me into this hidden world. But none of those gestures warmed me. They chilled me, because every step I took with him felt like stepping further into a truth I was no longer sure I wanted. The elevator stopped with a soft hiss. The doors slid open to reveal a long corridor, sterile, metallic, lit by pale blue lights embedded in the ceiling. Motion sensors hummed as we walked. At the end of the hallway was a massive steel vault door with biometric panels glowing red. "This is where the truth is?" I asked. "It is where everything began," he replied. He pressed his palm to one scanner and lowered his face to another. The vault whirred, gears turning like a monstrous machine waking from sleep. The door opened. Inside was not gold, cash, or diamonds. It was a room full of files, hundreds of them, stacks of documents, digital drives, contracts, surveillance photographs, testimonies, organized with military precision. "This," Adric said quietly, "is the reason Black Fireaxe exists." I stepped in slowly, surrounded by what felt like an archive of crimes. My voice trembled. "Tell me everything." He closed the vault behind us. "You know that the broker invested in my early company," he began. "But what you don't know is why." "Why?" I whispered. "He needed someone clean, someone with legitimate business credentials who could launder his shadow investments through real estate and tech expansions." My skin prickled. You laundered money for him? No, he said sharply. I refused. That's why he wants revenge. He walked deeper into the vault and picked up a folder marked Project Clean Cut. When I realized who he truly was, I did something dangerous. I built a confidential database of every illegal transaction he attempted to involve me in. Emails, recordings, documents, enough evidence to put him away permanently. My eyes widened. And this vault holds all of it? Yes, and for years, Blackfire X has been trying to steal that evidence. A slow dread formed in my chest. But why me? I asked. Why target me? He paused. Because you're a lawyer. Because you're smart. Because you can see patterns no one else sees. And because, he swallowed, because you were never supposed to find out he was connected to your father. A cold wind seemed to pass through me. You hid that from me, I whispered. I had to, he said. Your father's testimony nearly destroyed him. He would never allow you to marry into my world if he knew you could expose both of us with one slip. My throat tightened painfully. So this marriage was calculated. No, he said firmly, stepping closer. That part wasn't. I chose you long before I knew your connection to him. His words hung in the cold air. Before I could respond, the vault lights flickered. Then again. Then a loud alarm pierced the silence. Adric grabbed my arm. They've breached the building's lower network. They're trying to override the vault systems. But how? We're underground. That's where they wanted us, he growled. Suddenly, the vault screens glowed with an incoming message. Bold, taunting letters. You can't hide the truth forever, Adric. She will learn who you really are. My breath caught. Another line appeared. And when she does, she will leave you, just like everyone else. Adric slammed his fist against the panel. They're trying to turn you against me. But were they? Or were they revealing something he wasn't saying? I stepped back from him, heart pounding. Adric, what else are you not telling me? He turned slowly, pain flashing in his eyes. Kamsi, listen to me. Everything I've done has been to protect you. I don't believe that, I whispered. Not entirely. The lights flickered again, this time accompanied by the sound of heavy machinery grinding. The backup lock is failing, Adric said. If they open this vault, they get everything, including you. How do we stop it? He took my hand. We don't stop it. We outrun it. He pulled me toward a smaller exit I hadn't noticed before, camouflaged in the vault wall. Where does this lead? I asked. To the only place they won't attack, he said. And where is that? He looked at me, dark, intense, conflicted. Home. I froze. Home? As in your mansion? No, he said quietly. As in your family home. My heart lurched. Why mine? Because, he whispered, your father left something behind. Something I couldn't tell you. Something Blackfire X has been hunting for longer than you know. My breaths grew shallow. What did my father leave? Adric's next words shattered me. A key, not a physical one. A legal key. He wrote an affidavit years ago, tying the broker to crimes even Blackfire X doesn't know about. My knees weakened. My father knew. Yes, Adric said, and you're the last person in the world who can legally activate that affidavit. The vault shuddered violently, metal dents forming as if something was trying to force its way in. Adric pulled me close, urgency in every motion. We have to leave now. And for the first time since the divorce papers arrived, I realized this was bigger than betrayal. This was destiny closing in. We escaped the vault seconds before metal screamed and buckled behind us. Security alarms wailed as Adric pulled me through a narrow emergency passage, lit only by red strobes that made the walls pulse like a heartbeat. The deeper we moved, the clearer it became. Blackfire X wasn't trying to steal the evidence. They were trying to trap us with it. The passage led to an underground garage where an armored SUV waited, engine running. Two of Adric's private security officers stood beside it, tense and alert. Get in, Adric ordered. I hesitated. My father's affidavit. How do you even know it exists? Because he told me, Adric replied. I froze. When? I demanded. The day before he died. Those words struck like lightning. My father never told me anything. That was the plan, Adric said softly. He wanted you safe. He trusted that when the time came, the right people would protect you. And you think you're the right person? I know I am. Adric opened the SUV door. Please, Kamsi, if we stay here, we die here. I climbed in, not because I trusted him completely, but because the danger behind us was real and getting closer. The SUV shot forward, roaring up the ramp and bursting into the bright daylight of Lagos. Helicopters hovered in the distance. News choppers or something worse, I couldn't tell. Adric's jaw was clenched, eyes locked on the road ahead. Your family house, sweetie, he said. Where is the affidavit hidden? I swallowed hard. In my father's study, behind a wooden panel. Only he and I ever knew it existed. But you never knew what was inside it, Adric said. He left that part for now. Why now, Adric? Why all this? Because your father's affidavit identifies the broker as the mastermind behind a financial network larger than Black Fire Axe. If that document is activated legally, the entire structure collapses and Black Fire Axe dies with it. Yes, Adric said, which is why they will do anything to stop you. My pulse hammered. So this divorce, it wasn't about ending the marriage. No, he said. It was about separating you from my assets so Black Fire Axe wouldn't see you as leverage, a temporary shield. And after? He didn't answer. The silence said enough. My family home. The gate groaned as we entered. I hadn't been back in years. The house still smelled faintly of old books and palm wine, the scent of my father's world. We rushed upstairs to his study. I knelt by the bookshelf, pressing the hidden latch. A small wooden panel slid open, revealing a sealed envelope wrapped in protective plastic. My name was written on it. To my daughter, Kamsiochi. For the day, truth becomes heavier than silence. My chest tightened. Hands trembling, I opened it. Inside was a signed affidavit, notarized, dated 12 years ago. It detailed illegal financial pipelines, corrupt political alliances, the broker's real identity, and a list of shell companies that secretly funded Black Fire Axe creation. My father had known everything. I stood slowly. This can destroy them. Yes, Adric said. If we file it properly, it triggers automatic investigations across multiple jurisdictions. And they'll come after us even harder. They already have. Before I could respond, the house lights flickered. Adric moved fast, pulling me behind him. They're here. The window shattered, toxic smoke hissing inside. Move! He shouted. We bolted through the hallway as black-clad intruders breached the door. The air filled with shouted orders and heavy boots. One man aimed at us. A security officer from our SUV tackled him, buying us precious seconds. This way! Adric grabbed my wrist, guiding me toward the back exit. Outside, engines roared. Reinforcement vehicles pulled in. Adric's private security team. We dove into another armored car as gunfire cracked the air. Drive! Adric barked. The vehicle surged forward, leaving chaos behind us. The final choice. Hours later, we reached a secure government facility. Lawyers, investigators, and federal officers waited inside. Adric turned to me, his expression serious. Kamsi, once you submit that affidavit, there's no undoing it. You become the key witness. You become the target. I already am, I said. He hesitated. This divorce, it was meant to protect you, not to push you away. Then why didn't you tell me the truth from the beginning? Because I was afraid it would destroy us. I looked at the affidavit in my hands, my father's legacy, my future, my danger. Then I stepped forward. I'm filing it. A federal officer took the document gently. Mrs. Ease, once this is processed, Black Fire Axe will collapse under mandatory investigation. Adric lowered his voice to me. This puts everything at risk. I met his gaze. It also ends the war. The officer stamped the affidavit officially. My father's truth became public record. Black Fire Axe's death sentence was signed. Adric exhaled slowly, not with relief, but with the weight of a man who had been fighting a war alone for too long. What happens to us now? I asked quietly. He didn't touch me, didn't reach for me, but his voice carried something deeper than distance. That depends on whether you can forgive what I hid and whether I can earn your trust back. I didn't answer. Some truths are too heavy for immediate forgiveness. But as the world around us shifted, the empire falling, justice waking, the one certainty left was this. I had not just become the divorce lawyer of my billionaire husband. I had become the woman capable of dismantling the empire that once controlled us both. And for the first time, my story was mine.